Hello and welcome to Working with People One. My name is Pennie and I will be your trainer. Today we'll talk about introduction to human needs. We have a lot of information to cover today and I have a lot of questions, so let's get started. So the question of the day is, what is behavior? Define the word want, define the word need, and what are the essentials of life? Start with the first question. What is behavior? Now, oftentimes when people use this word, they use it to describe something negative. For an example, I hear many direct support professionals say, my client or my consumer was having a behavior today. And they typically use this word when the person is doing something like fighting or destroying property. But really, what is behavior? Behavior is an action. It's what all people do. It's the way a person conducts themselves. We're behaving right now. You're writing, you're typing, you're listening. Behavior is observable and is measurable, and it's not always negative. The next question is, define the word want. When you want something, what does that mean? It's a desire. Is it necessary? No. Someone may want a new car. It's not necessary they have one because the car that they have currently is running, is working, it's getting them from point A to point B. Maybe a new model has come out and they want it. This is an example of something that a person may want. It's not really necessary. It's just a desire. Define the word need. When you need something, what does it mean? A need is something that's necessary. It's important. Having a job is important. Education is important. Money is important. You need education in order to get a job to make money. Now, essentials are things that cannot be negotiated. And some examples are water, food, air, sleep, shelter. Everything we do is based on something that we either want or something that we need. You're here today to take this class because you want to or you need to. Okay, so I'm here, that's your behavior, to take this class because I want to see what Miss Pennie is in here talking about. I really don't need it. It's just a class that I'm just trying to figure out. Or I'm here to take this class, that's your behavior, because I need the certificate in order to get a job. Now watch this. Everything the individual you support does is based on something they either want or something that they need. The essentials cannot be negotiated. So if you have a consumer who's experiencing a challenging behavior and he's picking up air and he's acting like he's going to throw it out a window, don't look at the person's behavior and say, he must be doing that because of his mental illness. No. From this day forward, we're going to stop thinking that way. What we need to do from this point is look at the person's behavior and ask ourselves, what is this behavior communicating to me? And what does this person want or what does this person need? Because there's always a reason behind a person's behavior. People who have difficulties expressing themselves or people who cannot express themselves verbally tend to use their behavior to communicate. And almost every time your consumer engages in a challenging behavior, that message to you every time is that I'm out of control and I need your help. And this is when you as a staff need to spring into action and help your consumer get through those challenging times, all while exercising dignity and respect. Now, room is a handout showing Abraham's pyramid or his hierarchy of needs. Now, what we're talking about today is simple psychology. And if you like psychology, you're going to like this class. But if you don't like psychology, well, you're still going to learn something. Because what we're talking about today is something that we already know. What I'm doing today is putting a label to what we already know. Abraham Maslow was a noted psychologist, and he devised a system for us to understand human needs. He starts from the bottom of the hierarchy and he works his way up. And the reason why he starts from the bottom is because he says, if we are to understand human needs, we must have a foundation. If we don't have a foundation, we cannot build. Example, if you try building a house without laying the foundations, the first, and then you start building the walls, what's going to happen to the walls? They're going to fall. So he says that with this hierarchy, we have to start from the bottom, which is the physiological level, or starting at the body needs. This is the foundation. And then we can start working up. Examples of body needs, once again, is water, food, air, sleep, health, shelter, clothing. Maslow said if we lack any of these needs, and I'm just going to put it in today's terms, it's going to make us feel some kind of way. And that feeling is going to motivate us to do something to get that need met. For an example, if you're hungry, it makes you feel some kind of way. And how does feeling hunger make you feel? It makes some people feel sick or dizzy, weak, angry, irritated. And that feeling is going to motivate us to do something to get the need met. And typically, what do we do when we're hungry? You get you something to eat. It's that simple. And after you've satisfied that need, then you're going to move on to some other need because it's going to need to be met. Now let's take it to the street. A homeless man is hungry and he's human like we are. So the feeling of hunger is going to make him feel some kind of way. He's going to be motivated by that feeling to do something to get the need met. And what will a homeless person do to get their need met? Beg for money, steal, rummage through the garbage. You see, at this point, the homeless person does not care about whether or not he's safe or secure or if anybody respects him. All he is focused on is getting the need for the food met. Now, healthy people, when they're hungry, they can postpone or control themselves. I mean, if I'm hungry, I'm not going to start grabbing stuff off your table or stealing something from you or cussing you out. I'm going to wait until I can, take a break or kind of bear with my feelings of hunger, unless it's associated with me having some kind of sickness like diabetes. Then I have to move quickly because that feeling is going to motivate me to do something to get something in my body like right now. Otherwise, I can experience a diabetic emergency. Now, other people may be able to postpone the need for food, but may not be able to focus on any given task because that feeling of hunger is causing them to not be able to concentrate. Now, people who have tenuous emotional control or little control over their emotions may not be able to deal with the feeling of hunger. And they also may not be able to verbally express that feeling that they're hungry. They may get aggressive. They may start hitting people. They may start taking stuff from people. Let's take this to the residential settings. Let's say you're working in a home where consumers, they don't get an adequate meal. This is a sad reality, but there's some places, where the consumers, they don't get enough to be satisfied. That consumer is going to feel some kind of way. And the feeling of hunger is going to motivate him to do something to get that need met. That person might not eat everything that he had for breakfast. Maybe he'll take a piece of toast or a slice of bacon to his room and eat that in between breakfast and lunch to avoid feeling hungry. Or you might bring something to eat for lunch and put it in a refrigerator. And when it's lunchtime, you go and you look for lunch and it might not be there. You'll be looking around talking about, who ate my lunch? And nobody is saying anything. They all had some of your lunch, right? Sleep is another physiological body need that must be met. If you are sleepy, it's going to make you feel some kind of way. And how does a person feel when they're sleepy? Well, if the person lacks sleep, then they can't focus, they can't concentrate, the reactions are delayed, they may be irritable or even depressed. So we all need an adequate amount of sleep every night. And what do people do to satisfy that need for sleep? They go and lay down, or they may fall asleep right where they are. I've had many direct care workers who, over the years, who've taken this class, and they come in on a midnight shift, and they, have one eye open and one eye closed, and they have to stay and listen to me for hours. If I had to send a couple of them home because they just couldn't stay awake. Driving while sleepy or fatigued is almost as bad as drinking or being under the influence of some drug. The response time is delayed. You can't actually fall, and you could actually fall asleep at the wheel. Water is essential for human life. It accounts for 50 to 70% of our body needs and is crucial for body functions. When a person doesn't get enough water in their body, they're dehydrated. It makes them feel some kind of way. And typically, dehydration can make you feel thirsty and then fatigue, and then you might develop a mild headache. Being dehydrated too long can affect our organs, and you might very well end up in a hospital. So drink lots of water. Health. We all need to feel well. If we are sick, it makes us feel some kind of way. And that feeling is going to motivate us to do something. What do people do when they're sick? They focus on their whole being. Forget about cleaning a house or cooking dinner and all those other things. They focus on taking medicine, getting rest, because they cannot do anything productive if they are sick except take care of their well-being. Now, Maslow said once we've satisfied the physiological body needs, we can move to safety and security. People want to experience order. They want to experience predictability and control over their lives. They want to have freedom from fear or protection from physical dangers, which is abuse and neglect. People want emotional security, which is protection from excessive criticism, protection from constant change, and want to live in a safe living environment. Now, when you first start working in these settings, if you think that the consumers are going to feel safe and secure with you right away, you got to think again. You must build a relationship built on trust. So we as a staff, we must build our relationship starting where? At the physiological level. And how do you do that? If your consumers are hungry, feed them. Don't withhold food from them or use this as a form of punishment. If your consumers are sleepy or lacking sleep, you offer them an opportunity to get some sleep. Don't force them to do something that they don't want to do. If your consumers are going out in the weather and they're dressed inappropriately, you say to them, don't you think you need to put on some boots and a hat and a glove? It's awfully cold outside. Pay attention to how the people you support dress, especially in the winter, because if something happens to them on your shift, you still have to answer to that. When your consumers see that you're feeding them, when you're hungry and you're caring about their well-being, if they're sick, you're giving them medication and you're talking to their doctor. If they see that you're doing all of this, you're building a relationship built on trust. And once you can build a relationship built on trust, then they can begin to feel safe and secure with you. If your consumers know you're not going to physically abuse them and you're not going to allow someone else to physically abuse them because you're going to report it, you're building your relationship on safety and security. If your consumers know you're not going to call them out of their name or belittle them, and you're not going to let anyone else do it because you're going to report it, you're building your relationship based on safety and security. If your consumers see that you care about their environment, that if there's no hot water or no food, you're reporting it, or any other kinds of infestations like bed bugs or roaches. If they see you're taking part in keeping their home clean, you're building a relationship based on safety and security. Now, it's really hard to protect our consumers from constant change. When I talk about constant change, I'm talking about the high turnover with staff, different people coming in and out of their homes. We have to remember that this is the consumer's home. It's where they live, it's where they work, it's where they sleep, it's where they do everything that we do in our homes. So when there's a constant turnover of new workers, it's going to make that person feel some kind of way. Now, we don't have any control over that, but what we do have control over is being constant in the way that we treat the consumers while we're working there. Now, after the physiological and the safety and security needs is fulfilled, the third level is social, and it involves the feeling of belongingness, the need for interpersonal relationship, which motivates behavior. The consumers are going to want to see you there. They're going to be looking for you because they know that when you are there, you're going to take care of their physiological needs and you're going to keep them safe. Now, some examples could be friendship, trust, acceptance, receiving and giving affection and love. Okay. Esteem is the fourth level of Maslow hierarchy, and he classifies these in two categories: esteem for oneself. The way we can help build esteem in the people we support is to compliment the person, accept the person for who they are, and make sure that we're offering opportunities for our consumers to have successful life experiences. Now, the last level is self-actualization, and this is the realization of a person's potential, self-fulfillment, seeking personal growth and peak experiences. Now, what you're doing today is you're taking this class, which is a form of self-actualization. When you finish, you're going to have a certificate so that you can get this job, okay? You're self-actualizing, whatever level that you're trying to get at, and then you shouldn't stop there. Now, you may be working with a person who may have cerebral palsy and he only has the use of his hands, and the plan says that we should teach him how to use a spoon. So if we could teach that person how to put the spoon in his hand into his mouth, we could teach that person how to put a toothbrush in his hand and put it to his mouth. If we could teach a person how to put a toothbrush in his hand and put it to his mouth, perhaps we could teach that person how to put a comb in his hand and put it in his hair. You see where I'm going with that? So we want to be able to assist our consumers at whatever level they're capable of achieving. You might have a consumer who wants to learn how to catch the bus. If we could teach that person how to catch the bus, maybe we could teach that person how to use the Uber or the Lyft. And he might get tired of investing his money in Uber and Lyft and decides he wants to get his own car and learn how to drive. So again, we want to have our consumers to reach their fullest potential at whatever level they're capable of doing. All right. Any questions on the Maslow hierarchy of needs? All right. So what I want you to do now is I want you to go back, and there's a classroom assignment. I want you to complete the classroom assignment. I'll be watching for your assignments to come in. I'll be grading them, and then I will see you back here. All right. So go ahead and get started, and I'll see you soon.